Welcome to Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. I'm your host, Ceci Diaz. As always, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for supporting Benevolence Podcast. I pray that as you tune in every week, you are empowered, blessed, and encouraged to be the best version of yourself. You are tuning into episode 2, The Scenic Route. And on this episode of Benevolence, I have a very special guest who will be joining me at the table. She is sweet, kind, and carries grace everywhere she goes. She is a wonderful wife and mother. She comes from an amazing family, and I'm so excited to have her join me at the table today. So without further ado, I have the wonderful Rebecca Johnson joining me at the table. This conversation was recorded digitally due to our season of social distancing. So make sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing testimony by the lovely Rebecca Johnson. Enjoy.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, I was brought up in Assembly of God church. My parents, both Christians from before I was born. They raised me in church. So nothing out of the ordinary in growing up, a regular upbringing. I was really involved in youth group. I had friends in high school and school, but most of my friends and the people I hung out with were youth groups. So really involved in my church.
Yeah.
Normal upbringing. My parents are both wonderful parents. I have nothing to complain about with them. They raised me to believe in God, and they raised me with Jesus as the center of our house. So
Yeah.
it was a great childhood and adolescence. I have nothing really major happened, which is good.
Yes.
I went to college. I went to UCF actually for one semester.
Okay.
And I decided I'd rather go to like a smaller private Christian school, so I changed to Southeastern in January, in the middle of the year. Went to Southeastern, and that's where I met my first husband.
Okay.
And I met him pretty much as soon as I went to Southeastern. And same Southeastern, I was involved in choir. I was a music major, so a lot of rehearsals and practices. Normal college.
Yeah.
Christian college. Normal Christian college experience. I was with my ex-husband all through college. We were together.
Okay.
And pretty much before that, in high school, I never really had like a serious, I dated and stuff. Of course, I went to prom with someone and did all that stuff, but I never had like a serious relationship. I guess I kind of felt like I was waiting. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I just never really tried to have one. So,
yeah.
I mean, I had dating here and there, but in college, when I had the first serious relationship with my ex-husband.
Okay.
So, we dated all through college. We graduated together, started our careers. I started teaching when I was 21.
Wow.
We dated like a year or two after college is when we got married. So let me think. We got married in 2000, so 2 years after college. We got engaged about a year after college. I was always I'm a planner, and I was very responsible. I'm like, I'm gonna graduate first. I'm going to start my career, and then we'll get married. So I did everything according to plan and the right way of doing things. That's pretty much my personality. Do things the right way. So we got married in 2000, and everything was fine, normal marriage, and bought a house, starting married life, just starting your life in your early 20s. So in 2004, 4 years after we were married, in March of 2004, all of a sudden he was like, I'm not happy. I was like,
oh, wow.
What? It was very blindsiding for me.
Wow.
We never really fought in our marriage, never argued, never fought. I pretty much did what he wanted, not because he forced me to, but it was pretty much he chooses things and I follow, kind of.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of a personality that's just easy for me to do,
Yeah.
So but we never fought. I was happy. I thought I was happy.
Wow.
But he did work a lot. He worked for the Orlando Magic, so he'd have to go to like every game. He would travel with the team and stuff. He was gone a lot, which was fine with me. I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But nothing that really, now that I look back at it, there is, but at the time I couldn't see why all of a sudden he would want to leave, or he was unhappy. That's what he said. So he told me he was unhappy in March, and we went to counseling for a couple times. We went to marriage counseling.
Okay.
And then he was like, "Oh, this is not working for me." We only went like twice to marriage counseling, but no, this isn't working for me. So then he packed up all his stuff and moved out, and I was just sitting there in an empty closet, like, what in the world?
Oh my goodness.
Was like, it was devastating. Yeah. So I just was lost. I was all of a sudden, what you plan, because I'm a big planner, what you plan is all gone, like your whole life gone. It's like a death, really. Although he said, "Oh no, I don't want to get divorced. I just need time apart." So I was like, okay, I'll do whatever. Marriage is for life. Yeah. So I'll do whatever it takes to fix whatever this is. So he moved out, and we still went to a couple more counselings after he moved out, but it was pretty much the whole time him, pointing fingers at me. You do this, you do this, you do this. And I was like, oh, yes, I'm sorry. I'll do whatever.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. But after a couple times, he was like, this isn't working. So I think we're just going to stay separated. I'm not thinking about divorce. We're just going to be separated for a while.
Okay.
So that's when I started doing digging. That's when I started being like, there's something not adding up here. So I started I knew all his information, all his accounts and stuff, but I started like looking into things, and I realized, no, he has been like out and having affairs and sleeping around and doing all kinds of stuff. So I even called a phone number that was on there a lot. The plane ticket was bought for, so the name was there. So I figured out there's a bunch of stuff going on, and I won't go too deep into it, but there was definitely reasons he left. So that kind of I don't want to say it released me, kind of, I guess. Yeah. Because then I was like, okay, this is the reason why. It wasn't me. Although, when someone tells you it's you, you start to believe them. Yes. But anyway, the damage was done with that. But so then I realized, okay, something's going on. I can kind of let it go, but the hurt was still there. Yeah. So I kept going to counseling. So he did he filed for divorce, and I found out in the papers that he even took pictures of everything in the house before he moved out. Even though he said he didn't want to get divorced, he took pictures of everything. So that was the plan pretty much from the beginning. Wow. So so he left, filed for divorce. We got divorced. It was final. We have no children or anything, so we just had to do the house, and I stayed in the house, which probably was a big mistake. Wow. But I stayed there. I didn't want any more changes. I was like, no more changes. I just want to stay here. Yeah. But we got the divorce was finalized in November of that same year, and that was it. I never really had to talk to him or see him again. Wow. And that was it for his part. But the damage is already done. Now that I look back, I see all the little manipulations. Yeah. Like even when we were married, like he would be like, why don't you wear this? Or I like your hair, like that, little manipulations of him like wanting me to be a certain way.
Yeah.
And actually I did change into, I did change how I was kind of like more materialistic, which that never mattered to me before.
Yeah.
So the marriage did change me now that I look back at it. And then he kind of, what's the term they use? Gaslighting. So looking back, I did see, at the time, of course, in the marriage, I was happy. But looking back, I do see all the little things that he did do to manipulate things, manipulate me, which I believe he did that even in college, our whole relationship. He would try to get me, he was a good salesman and very good at talking people into things, which he's still good at that. So, so he was very good at manipulation without even me noticing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he would do little things, but even when he left, for example, saying, "Oh no, I'm not going to get divorced. Don't worry." But he knew all along what he was doing.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of manipulation, and after going to counseling those few times, I felt, first of all, you have a bunch of things going on here at once. My life as I knew it is gone. It's no more. It's gone forever. It's like a death. They say you grieve like divorce is like a death. I never planned on getting divorced. Once you're married, I was sure, because once you're married, that's it. That's how I was raised. That's it. You do things to work it out. So that whole thing is going on. I feel failure because my short marriage is ending in divorce. You feel failure on one part, and then also all the things he's accused me of, like in counseling, saying, "Oh, you do this, I don't like this. This is your fault. This is your fault." And so all these things, all the 20, how old was I? 23. All the 23 years of self-esteem that I had, kind of like blown out of the water.
Wow.
Like my parents are very supportive and very like I my whole life I never had any trust issues or any self-esteem issues because of my parents. They were raising me good, and of course my faith in God. So that was like blown out of the water. Everything, it felt like 23 years of things that were me were gone.
Wow.
So bunch of stuff going on at once. So he was gone. Now I had to deal with this by myself. Of course, I had my family, but when you feel like a failure, do you really want to go to other people?
Exactly.
No, which you should. You should, of course. That's how you get things out in the open. That's how you heal, when you talk about things and get things out in the open. So, but when you feel like a failure, you don't want to go to people and talk about it. I didn't eat. I lost. I was like 100 pounds. I was so skinny.
Wow.
Like super skinny. I just, it was obvious depression. And I would go to church with my parents. I would be around my parents, but it was just depression, just severe depression. Instead of dealing with it by, like I said, talking about it with my parents, and they, of course, were there, but I pushed them away instead, because it's just sort of shame, I guess, and blaming myself. Even though I know it wasn't my fault. Now, especially now. But the shame is there, and shame is real. So the shame is what pretty much put isolation. That's exactly what the devil will do. He'll use that shame and that the depression to isolate you. That's what he wants. The devil wants you to be isolated. So, gosh, I'm crying.
Oh, it's okay.
Anyway, so after he left, I was around my parents. I did try that way, but pretty much I gave up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't blame God. That was not. It was. I know all along it was the devil using all
Mm-hmm.
of this, all the feelings I felt. Instead of being able to get over it, he was, speaking to me all this negative thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
that you have. So anyway, I ignored my parents. I pushed them away, and instead of doing what was right, I just gave up. All the stuff I knew was right. I just was like, I did everything right for 23 years. It didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna give up. It's totally depression.
Mm-hmm.
So it was totally depression. So I started hanging around the wrong crowd,
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of people do.
Mm-hmm.
The people that, since I didn't go to church, I kind of just gave that up. I worked actually a part-time job at Banana Republic.
Mm-hmm.
So in the mall, I worked a part-time job. So there's a lot of people there, not Christian or anything, but they would always be like, "Hey, come out with us. Hey, come join us." And there was, so instead of doing what I knew was right, which would be, get more involved in church and rely on God to help me get through this, I didn't. I totally ignored that part that I knew would help me. Gave that up and started hanging out with people at Banana Republic and people that were not Christian, and they were single, and we started going out. And I remember the first few times doing that, I would feel yucky. Like before this, I never drank. I never drank in high school. I never drank in college. Never, ever. And here I am, 20 by this time, 27, 26, drinking for the first time. So we'd go out and go to clubs the first few times. You feel, this is like a dark place. You feel that, that in your spirit, you feel, just the yuckiness. Like, what am I doing here? But if you ignore that, then it eventually go away. So we would go out. I would be drinking out in clubs, going out all the time. I started dating a guy that was young and not Christian, and started dating and seeing him and hanging out with other people, which of course I should not have been dating anyone at that time. Should have been single for a while. But you just cover up all that stuff, and you get lonely, and you just want instant gratification. It was like instant gratification. So hanging with the wrong crowd, that happened. I was doing that for 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years. I mean, I stopped dating that guy. I dated him for a year and a half or so. That and then when he broke up with me, actually, which is the first time in my life this happened, besides the divorce. But that was just like another blow, even though I knew I would never marry this guy. No way. I knew that. I never brought him home to my parents. There was nothing, like, I would never marry him. He wasn't Christian, and I knew I'd be back eventually. I think in the back of my mind. Not thinking about it, but like in subconscious, I knew I'd be eventually stop this crazy cycle. But after that, it kind of got worse when I was single. Started hanging out with other people that were single. Another group, a couple teachers at my school, actually. Yeah, but they weren't Christian, so it was just going out all the time and just wasting away. And of course, alcohol is a depressant, so that makes depression much worse.
Yes, so, absolutely.
My aunt actually came to me and was like, she's AA. She was an AA. She was an alcoholic. And she was like, come to a few meetings with me.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh sure, whatever. I hid everything from my parents. I'm sure they knew, but I thought I was hiding. I'm sure they knew. But I tried to hide it. But if you're out drinking and on the weekends and some weeknights even, getting drunk all the time and doing stupid stuff, oh my gosh. I should have died. I should have died lots of times. I was left downtown by myself drunk. And
Oh
some
my God.
random person would bring me home, and I would
Wow.
wake up at my house. I did not know how to drink, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not that there's a right way or wrong way. There's should drink, but you know what I mean. It was like I was a teenager.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And a 27-year-old body.
Yeah.
That just kept drinking and drinking. So pile on never drinking before, plus all the problems I wanted to get over. Pile that one on top of the other, and it's a big mess.
Yeah.
So like blacking out, like serious, not remembering things for hours, waking up in my house and being like, how did I get here? So dangerous. I could have died so many times. So after years of that, years, like 4 or 5 years,
wow.
It's my parents. My parents got me out of it.
Wow.
So
Oh.
thank God for them.
Yes. Yes.
Thank God for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
But they prayed and prayed and prayed. They were on their knees all the time praying for me. And that's what finally got me out.
Yeah.
I think rock bottom. They say you hit rock bottom. I think I hit it a lot. And
wow.
I would get back up and do something dumb again and hit it again. So just blacking out all the time and stuff. Eventually, my parents are like, "Come." I'm still kind of a people pleaser a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, so I would still do. They would say, "Hey, come over." My parents would. I would still want to please my parents. That's why I hid a lot from them, because I don't want them to be ashamed of me.
Yeah.
Shame. So so I would hide a lot from them.
Yeah.
So but I would still, like, they would say, hey, come to church with us, or hey, do this with us. So I would still do it. Like, I remember showing up to like family things. I was being hungover.
Oh wow.
Which they probably don't know that, but now they do. So it was bad. But I would still, like, I would go to church still, like, probably hungover from the night before too. But I would still try to please them. So I'd stay, because they kept trying, I kept going.
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson in itself, because if you have someone that's not listening, you're praying for them, then keep praying, because eventually you'll get through. You will.
Amen. Amen.
So I started going to church, and my aunt even invited me to a group called Celebrate Recovery, which is like a Christian AA pretty much. Okay. But it's not just for alcoholics. I forget their slogan. They have a slogan. For hurts and hang-ups, all hurts and hang-ups. So it's like, it's for depression. Like it was women only, and they split up into women and men. So I would go to a couple of those meetings, and difficult. It's difficult to pull off that.
Yeah.
That mask you're hiding behind. Shame.
Yeah.
That's difficult. But I kept going, because she kept saying, come on, please, asking me. So I kept going. And eventually, we started working on things. I would see all these other people they were like victims of sexual abuse or depression, or it's all different problems. Some people, like one had her husband had a problem with drugs. So it's not just people that were alcoholics or drug addicts, although they're there too. But they talk about everything, pretty much. Healing from whatever problems you are going through. Yeah. So I started going to that. Started going through the notebooks and stuff. We had 4 notebooks we went through, and I did homework and everything. And that process really, it kind of helped me be like, what in the world am I doing? Why? Yeah. This is not happiness. This is just covering up a huge problem. I'm not healing. So going through that process helped me be able to heal. And once I was able to heal, then I was ready for whatever God had for me. I had to heal first. So went through all 4 notebooks, did all the meetings, started going back to church. At first, I hated it. I did not want to do it. I would still go out drinking with other friends because right at that time, my only friends I had were those kind of people that were not Christian. I didn't have any Christian friends. Mm-hmm. So, and single friends. And I did have people that reached out to me. My best friend growing up, they would all reach out to me. But it was hard to talk to them because there they are in their marriages.
Yeah.
There they are happy. Mm-hmm. and look, it just reminded me of what I lost.
Wow.
Yeah. So if someone's pushing you away, it's probably just pain, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, I always cry.
No, it's okay, girl.
I always cry. I'm like, God, please don't make me cry. But
no, it's fine.
I always cry.
It's okay.
And I don't cry because of like sadness anymore. It's not. I'm not sad. I cry because I'm just thinking about what I've been through and where I am now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you see me in church, I cry there too. So.
No, trust me, I understand.
I cry a lot. Anyway, so I started doing all that and started healing, and eventually that little voice when you're out and like drinking and out and doing all, I would do both for a while, but then eventually I was like, oh, it's disgusting to me. I don't want to do this anymore. So I started going back to church. I wasn't really involved in church, but at least I was turning away all the other stuff. I was not going out and drinking anymore.
Yeah.
I really did not want to have anything to do with it. So I was like over it.
Yeah.
I realized, this is what I realized all along. I knew that all along. I was brought up Christian, but I was like, yeah, this other stuff not working, not healing. So I stopped going out. I stopped doing things with the people that I knew were not a good influence.
Yeah.
And I just relied on my family again until I got involved in church. And I would try to find the people that were reaching out to me the whole time. I did have Christian friends, but I just ignored them because most of them were married or had kids, and it just was too upsetting for me to be around them.
Yeah.
So thank God that they didn't give up on me. Or my parents. Yes. Thank God. So,
thank God.
So I started, and right after God's timing is perfect always. Right after I finished all those notebooks and started like really healing and stopped going out anymore. Yeah. That's when my friend from college, he was here. He lived, I don't know if he lives in LA or Las Vegas. He moved around a lot. Anyway, at the time, he was here. He used to live here, but then he came and visited. He's like, hey, we're going out. Do you want to go with us to go eat somewhere? And they went to like a karaoke place. Anyway, so I went, and I was talking to him. He's like, so why are you still single? Because I had been. I got divorced in 2004, and this was 2011.
Okay.
So 7 years later. So he's like, why are you still single? I was like, well, I don't know. I haven't found anyone. Anyway, we started talking. He's like, well, what do you like? And I started telling him all my things I like. Because hey, every girl has a list. Or they should at least. They should have a list. Yes. You should not settle. You should have.
Absolutely.
You write down, you know what you want. You know what works. You know what you want in a man. You should not settle for someone else. You wait till you get that list. Because it does happen. So I was telling him what I wanted. He's like, I have a friend. Oh, do you want to go on a blind date? I was like, okay.
Oh my
sure,
goodness.
I guess. I've never been on one. So, although my parents met on a blind date and my grandparents met on a blind date. So, blind dates.
Wow, look at that. Look at that.
So I was like, yeah, sure, I guess, sure. And he's like, he's a Christian. I was like, yes, that's good. I need to find one, a good Christian man.
Yes.
Especially, I was, how old was I? 30s, early 30s. So by this time, it's hard because as a Christian, most people are married young.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's hard to find someone that's not. So anyway, I was like, sure. And I guess he said, okay, I'll talk to him. I'll let you know. So anyway, a couple months went by and he's like, here's his phone number. I forget I don't remember if he arranged a meeting, I think. I don't remember if we talked on the phone or not. But we arranged to meet at downtown Disney, and that's when I met Omar Johnson.
Wow.
So, and it was 7 years, 2011, 7 years after this roller coaster thing I went through for 7 years.
Yeah.
But I think 7 years, if I'm not wrong, I mean, 7 years is like new beginnings? No, 7 years is like completion or something.
Yeah.
If you look into the Bible, uses the word, God uses the number 7 a lot. So it was there's a lot of things when I talk about Omar and I meeting, a lot of things that line up with, like biblically. It was like everything fell into place, which is another sign that I knew this was the right person for me.
Yeah.
So we met in April of 2011, and I'm very quiet, so even though I'm talking a lot today, kind of, but trying along. But I'm very quiet person when it comes to like small talk. That's not my favorite thing. So I'll talk about something I know. Talk about something that has a purpose.
Yeah.
I'll talk in school all day.
Same.
But anyway, when you do, you small talk a lot, so it's pretty quiet. And he'll tell you, he was like, I think it's going horrible. I think the dates he would call Angel, my friend's name is Angel, and he would say, I think the dates are going horrible, which he grew up with Angel, by the way, and I went to college with Angel. We know like the same people. It's weird. But he would tell Angel, I think she doesn't talk. I think it's really bad. And see, I don't feel awkward in silence. I don't know. It's not. I'm like, it doesn't feel that weird to me. But I mean, I did talk, but I wouldn't be like blabbing a lot.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go on and on. I don't do that. I never do that. Anyway, he thought it was going horrible. But and I was telling Angel, hey, it's great. I like him. So he's just like, what in the world is going on? So he's like, you need to tell him you like him then. Anyway, so we dated, but after a few months, though, we knew. We were like, that's it. You're it. That's it. So we actually talked about marriage. I think in July was the first time. That same year. So April, May, June, July. 4 months later.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty fast, but we knew. And it's so weird because me, the planner, the first time I was with my ex-husband we were together for 5 years, almost 6, got married. I did everything, the way that you think planning should be,
exactly.
Start your career, get married. Anyway, and so together 10 years, and that didn't work. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. People, whatever works for you. Exactly. But I'm saying this time it was totally opposite. So we met in April, started talking about marriage in July. We didn't get married till the next year. We got married in March 2012. But it was only 11 months after I met him. So, wow. But there's so many things that he has that I did not get in my first marriage.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel at the time I was settling. I just felt I kind of fell into it, because I met him as soon as I got to college. I kind of fell into that and fell into, I'm a big routine person. Change is not great for me. Like, I'm not someone who loves change. So I think that's what happened the first time. But all the things that I look back and see were wrong with the first one, there's nothing with Omar. None of those things.
Wow.
Like all the things I wanted from the time I was a teenager, all
Mm-hmm.
the things I wanted in a man, he has them all of them, and he's loyal to a fault. I don't have to worry. Like even I should have trust issues
Mm-hmm.
because it kind of follows you, but I don't because he's so loyal, and so I just don't because it's right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I trust him.
Mm-hmm.
I have healed from the other thing too, but it does come up sometimes. Some things, but he just deals with me with grace.
That's awesome.
So Omar is full of grace. So so loyal. So I even little stupid things
Mm-hmm.
that don't matter too much. Like for example, in church, like when I was going to church, I was still going out. Like I would still go to church
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. I would be like, I would like to, because I'm a music teacher. I'm music. I was a voice major.
Mm-hmm.
So I would look at the person leading worship and I'd be like, it would be cool if I could have that in common. If I could find a husband who is into music like me and who leads worship and knows how to play instruments and can do all that stuff. It would be cool. It's nothing I was like, please God, give me this.
Yeah.
Nothing like that. But he did give it to me.
Exactly.
So that shows you even the little things. So
that's awesome.
God even wants you to, like, he looks out for you no matter what. Like even little things that you don't think matter that much. He wants you to be happy. He's giving you the desires of your heart.
Amen.
If you follow him. So
Amen.
So we got married, have my 2 kids, which I love beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be, you're getting too old. They're 4 and 6 right now, but
Yeah.
December they'll be 7 and 5. They're too big. But anyway, so that's my long-winded testimony.
Oh my goodness, Rebecca, thank you. Thank you for sharing. It's so beautiful. And just to see like how God was with you all along, from start to finish. And even in moments where you felt like he wasn't around, or maybe you had taken a couple steps away from God, he was still there and
still protecting.
Still protecting. Absolutely. So I just want to thank you first and foremost, because I know you're a little shy, so I know it takes a lot of courage to share your story with us, but I really appreciate it. And I've heard your story before, and I'm like, I gotta talk to Rebecca because this girl got a story, So first, thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you for asking me, because I believe the more you talk about things, the easier it gets. Like it's just God made me go through that for a reason, and I need to use that for helping other people.
Exactly. So. Amen. Yeah. So before we end our conversation, I wanted to ask you some basic relationship questions. I know that the demographics of the podcast are usually young girls going all the way up to adult women. And I just wanted to cover some grounds on relationship questions that I think you will be able to answer. So the first one would be, how do you know if the relationship you are in is toxic?
If you are not being pointed to God, and God is not the center of it, that's first and foremost.
Yeah.
You should be together making each other better, and God should be the center of that. So it's like a triangle. It's not a it's not a two-way relationship. It's a triangle. If God is not the center and they don't point you towards God, then that's a big, huge red flag. Also, if you are changing yourself, if you feel like, and it could be little things, like with mine, it was little things I didn't notice until looking back. So
yeah.
If you are changing the way you act, or the way you think, or the way you do things, if you're changing yourself at all, that's not good. Unless you're changing, of course, for the better is okay. If you are if you have, of course, faults and they're helping you get rid of those, of course, that's good. But if you're changing just your personality, and then the way you look, or the way you dress, or the way they don't like the way you are,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a huge red flag. They should like you the way you are. You shouldn't have to change yourself for anyone.
Absolutely. That's good. Thank you. The next question is a toxic relationship fixable?
I believe most of the time, it depends on what it is.
Yeah.
If it's abuse, any kind of abuse, does God change people? Yes, he can. He can change anyone. But the person has to, as shown in my years, God does not just step in usually and, change how you are. You have to be willing to change. So if you're in an abusive relationship, I would say no, get out.
Yeah.
I would say get out of it, because can God change them? Yes, but you don't want to be there through the abuse while that happens. I would say, is our toxic relationships fixable? Yes, God can change everyone, but no, you need to step back and be out, because you need to heal yourself too, because as a result of toxic relationships, you change too. Exactly. So I would say step out and get out of it.
Yeah.
If you see big red signs, yeah, you need to get out of it. And maybe, hey, years down the road, if you're both, if you're okay on your own and you fix yourself and they fix themselves, maybe. But no, I would not stay around, especially abuse, any kind of abuse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, that's good. Thank you. The next question is, are we supposed to be actively looking for a husband, or should we wait for God to bring him to me?
I was not looking. I hear a lot of other people too. I think if you are actively looking and trying and trying and trying, it's kind of desperation that leads you instead of God leading you to someone. You know what I mean? If you're so interested in, I just have to be with someone, then you don't want that to be your leading point. You want God to be leading you to that person. Mm-hmm. So I think God's timing is perfect if you just are happy with being by yourself, which that's so cliche, but it's so true. Happy with being by yourself. Everyone says that, but it's so true, and it's harder to do than it sounds. But happy being alone, happy being by yourself, then you'll find that person, because God's timing is everything. He doesn't want you to be unhappy. He doesn't want you to be. Of course, he wants you to be happy. He wants you to give you the desires of your heart, but you have to seek him first. If you're busy seeking him, then I think the other stuff falls into place.
Absolutely. That's good. That's great. All right. My next question is, how specific should I be with the type of husband I am praying for?
Hey, I believe you should be specific. Don't settle. I mean, there's some things, little things that don't matter too much, but I know in my case, I got all those little things that don't matter too much. Like, they're all there. Don't settle. If there's something you want in a person, I made a list when I was a teenager. I made a list after I got divorced. Another list, maybe it changed over the years. But I am specific in my prayer requests and about anything. I'm specific, please God. But of course, God has his own plan, of course. But I would say be specific. Don't settle. Don't settle out of desperation.
It's true. I remember writing a list, as a teenager, and I think it's changed along the years, just like you said. And I'm just so grateful that God, he pretty much gave me everything that I wanted and more, and I always tell Anthony that I'm like, man, like I got more than I asked for, because it's just, God is just very detailed, and he hears.
Because he knows you. He knows your heart.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. That's good.
So, yeah.
All right. My next question is, how long should I start dating if I am in the process of getting a divorce? Or should I wait for it to be finalized? And I honestly only answer that, I ask you that question, just because I myself have seen some old friends, especially from, my childhood, who have gotten divorced and then they quickly like move on. And you know what I mean? I've never gone through it, so I wouldn't know. But how long should someone just start dating? Should they wait, for it to be finalized, or I don't know.
Well, if it's not finalized, you're still married.
Exactly.
So I do think you should wait to be finalized. Because if you're still married, yeah, you should not be looking at dating. Now, I do believe each case is different. Mm-hmm. Like, I took the long way, the long road, the long broken road. That was to Omar, it was the long scenic route. But I think every person is different. But first of all, it should be finalized. But you need to be healed. That's what I'm saying. Every person is different. If you are healed, if you think you are healed, if you don't take that long scenic route and you still mm-hmm. rely on God and you don't do all the other stuff that messes it up, I mean, you could heal faster, of course. Mm-hmm. I mean, mine was a long journey, 7 years. It doesn't have to be like that. But I would say it's not so much a time thing as a healing thing. So exactly. If you're healed, then yes, sure, go ahead. If you really are ready to fix, look in yourself, and you not that you need to fix things in yourself, it could have been the other person, mm-hmm. but you always have, everyone has this fault. If you're mm-hmm. ready, if you think you're ready to be in a partnership again, because it's a partnership, mm-hmm. then sure, go ahead. But yes, you need to be divorced, needs to be finalized. Mm-hmm. But I think it's not a time thing. It's more a healing thing. So it's different for each person.
That's good. Thank you. And I'm just going to ask you one more question. How can someone heal from a broken relationship? So based off of your experiences, if someone has a broken heart, how can you encourage them, or what would you say to encourage them to, go through this process and heal?
It's time. It takes time. You, first of all, rely on God. That's where your relationship, if that person left, your relationship and focus should be on God. Mm-hmm. Because time and relationship with God, and also surround yourself with people that will do the same thing, that point you to God. Yeah. So people, make sure you have support around you, and I think talking about it helps so much. Don't try to hide things and try to be alone and heal yourself because of shame. You need to get out and talk to people, and maybe counseling. I went to counseling for years. Mm-hmm. And then I even went on antidepressants. Sometimes you need that. Yeah. I'm not on them anymore, but sometimes your brain stress and events will cause your brain chemicals to be imbalanced. Wow. And you need medicine for that sometimes. Mm-hmm. So if that's, I'd recommend surround yourself with people who love God, people that will support you. Look to God, and that's number one, support. And also counseling, and even if you need medicine, that's fine too. That's okay. Because if you're sick, you go to the doctor and you get medicine. Same thing mm-hmm. for your brain. Sometimes your brain needs a reset, a jump start or something. So
that's really good, because, the whole, as Christians, we see, antidepressants and things like that, it's like a stigma. It's like, it's like, that's not something that we really talk about, that people.
Yes, if you pray hard enough, you will overcome. No, sometimes you need, if you are sick, you need like medicine to heal yourself. Mm-hmm. So sometimes you do need that. Yeah,
that's good.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Well, Rebecca, we did it. Yay! We did it. So I just want to thank you again for joining me at the table today, and thank you for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you all for tuning into Benevolence, where kindness matters and all are welcome to the table. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Benevolence Podcast or at I am Ceci Diaz to know a little bit more about me and Benevolence. Benevolence Podcast is available on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, and the Stitcher app. Stay tuned for our new Benevolent Wednesday feature, where different women share their stories of what God has done in their life and encourage each other to share their own story. Stay tuned for next Monday's episode of Benevolence. You don't want to miss it. Bye!